The Tas Uni Boat Club just won the men's 8 at the State Rowing Championships, and it's been 27 years since they last had that title. And in order to pull off the win, they brought back the winning cocks from 27 years ago to work with the new crew of rowers. That winning cocks is Gavin Wakefield. G'day, Gavin. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm still on a bit of a high, Joel.
I'm glad you're still getting something out of it. Tell me about the phone call where you got re-recruited 27 years later for this crew.
Yes, Andrew Palmer, the coach, the current coach, senior men's coach, rang me up towards the end of last year and said he had an exciting crop of young athletes, mostly scullers, so young people who spend most of their time in small boats, and he was putting together an 8 to try and win the Senior 8 title for the first time in 27 years, and would I like to help him out? So I haven't been involved in the sport for quite a while, so I was a little hesitant at first because I know the time commitment that it requires.
And particularly the time commitment at 5 a.m.
5 a.m. or even earlier, because we had one of the crew who had to be off the water by 6:30, so we were training before 5 a.m. Some mornings. So, yeah, very early starts. So I was aware of the commitment, but as soon as I went down and met the boys and jumped in the boat for the first time, I could tell there was something special brewing, and so absolutely, I said, yes, let's do it.
Now, for those who don't know the sport, what is the job of the cocks?
Yes. Well, a lot of people think that the coxswain just sits there and steers, but it's far more important than that. The coxswain is really, I liken it to, when you're steering an 8, you're driving a V8 racing car. And so, yes, you have to steer the craft, and it's a very expensive piece of equipment. It's up, $80,000-$90,000 for a brand new racing top-of-the-line 8. So it's expensive, but it's your job to get the 8 rowers, the 8 pistons of the engine, if you like, firing in unison. And that requires a lot of inventiveness, I guess. You have to be a motivator, you have to be a technician, you have to be a race caller, and you call the plan, and you have to be ready to adapt at the drop of a hat because plans change. So you have to be all of those things. You really are driving a race car.
Now, how is the steering actually done? Are you just hanging on to a wheel? What are you doing? Hanging on to your rudder?
The boat is extremely long, and essentially you steer it with a credit card-sized piece of plastic that is on a rudder underneath you, and you control that using 2 strings. So it's not too complicated. But
2 strings?
Yes. So the idea is that you don't actually have to do much steering at all, because you go as straight as you can, and you keep. Otherwise, you create extra draft and for the boat, and you take off boat speed if you have to steer too much. So part of the skill is keeping the craft going straight, and that relies on getting the timing right with the 8 blades as well. So that's one of your jobs.
Were you a rower first, or were you always a coxswain?
No, I've been blessed. I've always been vertically challenged, so I never quite made it into the rowing seat. I've always been stuck up the end calling the shots.
What makes you good at the job, Gavin?
If I had to say what it was, most importantly, it's experience. Because we have a crop of really young, good coxswains who come through, particularly the school systems. But once they hit puberty and reach 18, 19 years of age, they grow. And being a coxswain is like being a jockey. And
you need a light, whippy person.
You need to be ideally 55 kilos and no heavier. And it's hard as an adult to do that. So there aren't many coxswains who stay in the game for more than a few years.
I don't think I've ever done this before, but I'm going to ask a guest their weight.
Sure.
How much do you weigh?
I told the boys I was 55 exactly, so that's all you need to know.
We know what you told them.
But my nose is grown a little bit there. It's a little bit over.
Now, how do you then develop that relationship with this crew to the point where they obey you instinctively? When you say you're going to up the tempo, they just do it.
Yes, that's a good question. Time, really. And because I started with the crew in December and then came in intermittently during the January lead up to the final campaign last weekend, we developed a rapport. They had a bit of faith in me because they knew my connection with Andrew Palmer. Andrew and I rowed together back in the 80s.
Yeah.
For quite a few years at university back then. So they have ultimate respect for their coach, and I think so that put me on a good pedestal already. And then once we got out on the water and we did a few training sessions and things began to click.
They start doing good times and go, ooh.
Well, that's right. The numbers improved every session. We were posting good times, good ratings, and that just builds confidence in the boys. And so we went into the campaign on the weekend full of confidence.
Now, is that prize as far as it goes for sort of you and this crew? Do you have nationals?
Well, I mean, 4 of these boys were aged 18, and there's one current 16-year-old in the crew. So they're really young. So they're targeting the under 21 age category at the nationals, which are coming up shortly. So I'm too old, unfortunately.
So you need to, you can lie about your weight. You can't lie about your age.
Just a little bit too old. But I'm going down to Franklin next Saturday to help them out with their training. But they'll have another young coxswain who will take them into the Nationals campaign. But it's been a long time since Tasmania's had such a young group of fast athletes like this. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Hopefully all of those 5:30 get-ups in the morning becoming worth it for those people.
Yeah, well, absolutely. They did very well on the weekend. They've worked long and hard for this, and the results were very, very exciting for the boys. And they're on a high like I am, and they're going to carry that momentum forward, I'm sure.
Gavin Wakefield is our guest, the coxswain of the Tas Uni Boat Club, who just took out the men's 8 at the State Rowing Champs. Gavin, congratulations. Thank you kindly for sharing your story.
Thank you very much, Joel. It's a pleasure to come in and talk about the rowing scene.
Before too long.